Hello, I'm Thomas Ryan of the Lean Farmer. Welcome to another video. Today, my improvement is going to actually be this video. So if you watch this channel at all, you know that I'm a huge fan of lean, and I'm always talking about how you should try to make something better, make an improvement along the way, if you will. And I frequently have people ask about me and celiac disease. So back in 2007, I stopped eating all wheat or gluten because I basically was told I have celiac disease. And so for the last 13 years, I've been living gluten-free. And so a lot of times people will get diagnosed with celiac and then they're kind of like, wow, what do I do from here? So this video is basically my improvement. I used to type stuff up or send people emails or try to have conversations. And so I'm actually gonna just document this in a video, and then it'll make it easy the next time that I need to share it with somebody. So buckle up today. If you know somebody that doesn't eat any gluten, if you know somebody that's got celiac disease, you've been thinking about it yourself, here are some of the improvements I've made along the way and some advice on going gluten-free. All right, to start off with, I recommend a couple of really good books. The first one is the G-Free Diet, and it's by Elizabeth Hasselbeck. She was a co-host on The View. First time you probably saw her was on Survivor. She's got an interesting story. She went on Survivor, and the only thing they could eat was rice, and she actually got better, and that's how she figured out she had gluten. But anyway, she has a very practical approach to going gluten-free. She tells you all these little tips and tricks and things you would never think about in that book. So I always recommend the G-Free Diet. There's two other books that are much more brainy, more science in them, if you will. One of them is called Grain Brain, and one of them is called Wheat Belly. I would definitely recommend reading either one of those. It'll kind of help you with some of the science behind all of it. Some other resources that I would recommend that you check out. Elena's Pantry. She's going to have different cookbooks. I think she's on Facebook. She's going to have websites, but she's going to give you a lot of good practical tips, especially when it comes to cooking for a gluten-free diet. And then another good like search topic and then even a cookbook is called the SCD diet. So a lot of times people that have celiac disease, they will really kind of tear up their gut, and it takes a while to heal that, and the SCD diet is really good for that. So make sure you check out all those resources. The other thing that you should learn about, and it takes some studying, is there are a ton of different names that are actually gluten or wheat. So obviously wheat, gluten, starch, food starch, modified food starch, malt, barley, anything with those types of names is more than likely going to have some type of gluten in it. And there's literally probably 20 or 30 different names. You really need to go look that up online and study that, because you'll find that it's in a lot of different foods. When it comes to eating out, a lot of people are so used to going to fast food or restaurants, you know, and over the last 13 years, we've really changed how we eat. We used to eat at fast food all the time. You know, we slowly stopped doing that, and eventually now we don't eat at fast food at all. And that may sound shocking to people that are constantly in restaurants or fast food, but eventually you'll learn to cook again. Most people don't know how to cook anymore. You'll learn to cook and bake again, and you'll find that you'll rather eat what you make over what a restaurant or fast food makes. But I'll give you some examples. Places you don't even think about gluten or wheat being in there. At one time it used to be there, I'm sure it probably is. Go look at McDonald's French fries. They're going to have wheat in it. So you're going to go through the drive-thru, go get your kid, your grandkid, yourself. Hey, I'm going to get some fries and give them, and the next thing you know, they're sick. It's because it has wheat in it. Another really big thing to pay attention to with fast food is how they fry their food. So if you take chicken nuggets and you put a bunch of flour on them, drop them over in the deep fryer, fry them up, pull those chicken nuggets out, you know, you sell them, and then all of a sudden somebody wants some fries, and you put the fries in there and drop it in the same oil that you just put all that flour in. You just got glutened because you were eating fries that were in the same oil as wheat. So that's something else you really have to pay attention to, and you have to ask all these questions if you're going to go in and eat that sort of stuff. Chick-fil-A is really the only place that I found that had 2 different vats of oil, and then you could get like a grilled chicken sandwich, all of which with no bun, all of which is gluten-free. Again, we don't eat at fast food anymore, but if you do, I'd go check out that. And then you're gonna wanna check their websites. And I mean, like, each time you go, you're gonna wanna check their websites because they change stuff all the time. You go to a restaurant, you're not gonna think about it. You may order like a burger with no bun, and you're gonna say, wow, hey, that's gluten-free. And you're gonna show up and eat it, and then you end up getting sick. It's because more than likely in the back, they cooked that burger on the same surface that they fried up some chicken on. And so that can get you sometimes too, cross-contamination through the cooking surfaces. So you really have to pay attention to that. When we do go occasionally out to restaurants, we have a little sheet that's made up, and it lists all the names of gluten and how we want our food prepared. And that's one of the improvements that we've made. I give that out, and it works out really good. One time I went to Japan, I actually printed that off in Japanese and gave it to the host, and then they helped me eat over there gluten-free. So that was one of the best improvements I've ever made. So I'm gonna give you a list of ways that I have been glutened. And when I say glutened, that means I got some gluten unexpectedly and then paid the horrible price for it. So one of the biggest ways is restaurants. You know, you can do all your homework, you can do your due diligence, you can pass out the sheet, you know, you can have the chef review it, and just one little mistake in the back, and then you can get sick from it. Friends that make some type of food, and then you eat it, you can get gluten really easy that way because they're just not used to cooking gluten-free. One time I actually got gluten from eating an apple, and you can go, how in the world did that happen? So I bought this apple, and it was like kind of a real special apple, and it had a real shiny coating on it. I ate it, and then I almost instantly got sick. Did some research, and certain waxes on apples have gluten in them, so you have to be careful about that. Lotion can have gluten in it, and one time it was during the winter, real rough hands from being cold outside. I was putting lotion on, didn't realize it had gluten in it, got really, really sick from that. When I first went gluten-free, and my family wasn't gluten-free, and they fixed spaghetti and they drained it in the colander, and then I fixed like rice noodles. We don't even eat rice now, but I fixed rice noodles, drained it in the same colander. After it was washed and cleaned, I still got sick. There still leaves a little film on that colander. That's an easy one to get sick that way. Double dipping is another big one. You know, somebody goes in and uses butter, right? And they smear it on their bread, and they go back in the container, and then you come along and you get some butter and you smear it on something. I don't eat butter anymore, but that's just an example of how you can get double dipped and get glutened that way. You could double dip with peanut butter and jelly, mayonnaise, anything like that you can think of. If you get a breadcrumb in there and then you get it on whatever you're eating, you're gonna have a really rough day. Vitamin E oil. Vitamin E oil actually can come from gluten, so you can get sick that way. One time, again, don't eat fast food anymore, but I went to Hardee's and they had chocolate milkshakes. I got a big, awesome chocolate milkshake. I don't drink any milk anymore, but did then, got an awesome milkshake, got horribly sick. Did a little research, found out that they also sold malt shakes, and malt can have wheat in it, and I don't think they washed the blender out, and I got sick from it. We have a lot of feed bags up here on the farm, and most feed has wheat in it, so you can get really sick from that too. I have bought something and checked the ingredients, and then would continuously keep buying it and eating it, and then all of a sudden they change the ingredients. You don't pay attention that one time you eat it, you get really sick. You always, always have to look. Hairspray. My daughter has actually gotten sick from hairspray before. She is a dancer, and they'll go to like recitals and stuff. Everybody's spraying hairspray. Gluten is a binder. That's what hairspray is. She gets it in her mouth. She's horribly sick. One time she also got real sick because she was eating something gluten-free, and she shared it with somebody who was eating something with gluten, had it on their fingers, went into the bag, and then my daughter got sick. Really easy to do. One time I walked into a pizza joint. This was a long time ago. We don't eat any of this kind of stuff anymore. but walked into a pizza joint to get my wife and kids a pizza, and the flour was in the air. I got home and I was sick just because I got it in my mouth. So it does not take hardly anything to get gluten. Some material you read says 20 parts per million can make somebody who is a true celiac or has gluten sensitivity, it can make them sick. So you may be thinking, wow, Thomas, you've got some crazy stories about gluten. Well, gluten is in everything. And if you're wondering what it's in, I'll give you a list of things that we've discovered it's in. Stamps, the glue on the back of the stamp, gluten. Envelopes, glue on the envelope. You lick it, and then it gets wet, and then it binds. When you lick it, you're going to get some gluten. You can get sick that way. Oils, I mentioned that one. Cereal, it's in like every kind of cereal you can imagine. We don't eat any of that stuff anymore, but it's there. Hairspray, I mentioned. Shampoo. Dog food, tons of gluten and wheat in dog food. Oatmeal, and you may say, how in the world is it in oatmeal? Oatmeal has nothing to do with the wheat plant. Well, a lot of times they run them on the same conveyor line or the same belt, and you'll get a little bit of gluten in with oatmeal. So you can look for gluten-free oatmeal, but me personally, I don't even take the chance. But some people can eat like gluten-free oatmeal, but to me, it's not worth it. Lipstick, chapstick, that for sure can have it in it. Chewing gum, I've seen that have it in it. Hot dogs got all sorts of stuff in it. Why not have gluten in there? Sausage, same way. Yogurt, you'd be surprised you'll find modified food starch in yogurt. More than likely that's going to be gluten. Could be corn, but you don't really know. Ice cream has tons of that. For the most part, we don't eat anything like that at all anymore. But it can definitely have that in there. And then you get to black beans. Black beans could have it in there. Medicines, that's a real big one. So I had my shoulder surgery like a year ago, and I was in the recovery room. You know, obviously anesthesia that makes your stomach upset. So they give me Zofran, which is like a pill to help your stomach calm down. Well, the coating that was around that Zofran pill had gluten in it. So I got sick from that. And a lot of medicines have gluten in it. That's a real one you got to really watch for. Candy, tons of candy have gluten and wheat in it. Soups, barbecue sauce, like 75% of all barbecue sauce is going to have some kind of wheat in it. That's a really dangerous one. Basically, if it comes in a package, it's going to have gluten in it. You know, and if you think about farming, we make tons of wheat, and we don't eat that much wheat, so they then in turn put it in everything because they need to. So it's basically in everything. You really have to watch what you're doing. So another big one I want to talk to you about, and that is guilt. So inevitably, somebody with a big heart that loves you or is a good friend will find out that you have celiac disease. And it doesn't matter where you go, what you do, food is somewhere involved. Whether it's a birthday party, a school party, church, work, there's going to be some type of food. And somebody is going to be a gracious host, and they're going to say, tell me what you can eat and I will fix it for you. Or you're going to show up and they're going to already taken that burden on, and they're going to say, look, I made this for you and I made it gluten-free. I have one piece of advice for that. Just say no thank you. Because you will feel guilty, you will eat it, and more than likely you will get sick. Not because they're a bad person, not because they try to do anything wrong, but they just don't understand that it's in everything. And I've had this happen to me more than one time. Somebody does something, and I'm like, wow, man, how can I not eat this? Because they spent all this time doing it, and then I eat it, and then I get sick. So the best thing to do when somebody tries to be nice for you is just say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't eat that. In the long run, they will feel better, because if they knew you got sick, they would feel horrible that they made you sick. So just say no if somebody tries to fix you something. So I've given you a bunch of what you might think is bad news. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. But I'm here to tell you that I am so much healthier since I realized I couldn't eat wheat. It's not funny. I probably would have type 2 diabetes now if I didn't stop eating the way I did. I might even have cancer now. I used to have a horrible diet. And now I eat so much better. I feel so much better. It's amazing. And it's been a journey. It hasn't been like overnight. It's been something that we worked on steadily. kept making improvements to, which is why I'm a huge lean fan. It applies to your life, it applies to what you eat, and we constantly still keep trying to make improvements in the way we eat. So life is not over when it comes to food. You can eat. I made a list of all the things that you can still eat: brownies, cake, pie, cookies, pizza, spaghetti, bread, waffles, pancakes. If you eat ice cream, you can eat ice cream. Fried chicken, fish cakes, crab cakes, you can eat all of that, and all of that you can get, except maybe the ice cream, all of that you can get gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, soy-free, rice-free, and sugar-free. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna be able to go buy it at the store, but you can certainly make it like that. A lot of times people, when they go gluten-free, they go to the store and they buy all this gluten-free stuff. That stuff is actually really bad for you. It's full of sugar, it's full of corn, it's full of rice, and it's like heavily processed. That's kind of people, it seems like their natural progression, and maybe that's what you'll probably do. But you should strive to eventually get where you can bake your own food and not have all of the garbage that comes along with that food. So my wife, Jenny, she has constantly worked on baking, and she's got a lean mind. I'll show you how her mind is so lean in a second, even when it comes to making waffles. But she's figured out how to make all of those things I just said: gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, soy-free, rice-free, and sugar-free. We don't eat any sugar. We do use a little bit of honey, way down on the scale, the sugar scale, if you will. Not even comparable to sugar. But other than that, we are sugar-free, and all of the food tastes excellent. You know, it's amazing to be able to go eat crab cakes and know that you're eating it safe, and there's no gluten in there or anything else that's gonna, you know, cause major problems with sugar or insulin or anything like that. So I say all this to say, life is not over when you find out that you have celiac disease. To me, it's the first step in having a better life when it comes to your health and eating. So make sure you keep trying to improve, even when it comes to your food and what you put in your body. Thanks again for watching another video. So this is Jenny mixing up some waffles with almond flour, some eggs, and some other basic stuff, a little bit of honey. And then this is how lean she is. She has it set up in a flow fashion: waffle mix, waffle iron, and plate. And that's what I love about her. She's always thinking about how to make things better and how to make things lean. And then here you have it, a beautiful waffle that's gluten-free.